Ted Lasso Season 4, Episode 3 throws AFC Richmond's women's team into genuine crisis mode. No striker, no kits, and a press conference that turns into a public referendum on whether women's football deserves to exist at all. Let's break down everything. The tryouts, the Dani Rojas connection nobody saw coming, KEELEY'S disaster of a week, and why Alice keeps being so hard on the one player who might save the whole season. This video contains spoilers. The women's team is down two crucial players heading into their debut match, one out with an ACL injury, another just discovered she's pregnant. Alice jokingly suggests open tryouts. Ted, being Ted, runs with it immediately. Alice also tries to bring back a former teammate, Gemma, who quit football years ago to study law. This is a perfectly serviceable engine for an episode. Low stakes, character-driven, gives everyone something to do. The problem isn't the setup, it's what the show does with it. The Higgins report is making the rounds, and the shareholders dismiss the women's team as a financial dead end without much subtlety about it. She confronts Rebecca and Higgins directly, demanding no more secrets, and learns that PINTER and Sons, the team's sponsor, may be pulling out entirely. KEELEY finding out through a room full of strangers rather than from her own team is a real breach of trust, and it's a much more effective conflict than any of the external hostility from earlier in the season, because it's coming from people who are supposed to be on her side. Rather than handle it over the phone, Rebecca drives across town to confront ELAINE PINTER directly. ELAINE bluntly tells her that war is more profitable than women's football. Rebecca refuses to fold and eventually convinces ELAINE to bring the sponsorship back to her board. ELAINE's line about war being more profitable is a genuinely sharp piece of writing, cynical, blunt, and more effective than a room full of shouting journalists at capturing how institutional dismissiveness actually sounds in a boardroom. It's cold calculation dressed as pragmatism, which is far more chilling than open hostility. In a smaller beat, Ted's son Henry arrives in London, ready to start his new school, meeting Roy's niece Phoebe along the way. Roy and Phoebe chat about the women's team and, amusingly, his general lack of pizzazz. A short, warm scene, mostly there to keep Ted's family arc ticking along in the background, but it's a nice reminder that this show still has personal stakes running underneath all the club drama. Open tryouts bring out a wave of hopefuls. Lizzie Davis, a single mother who brought her son along after a last-minute scheduling scramble, turns out to be the real find, not just a competent player, but someone with genuine command, calmly breaking up a fight between the twins mid-session. Maria Rojas, Dani Rojas' sister, turns out to be entirely untrained despite the family name. Shannon doesn't wow the coaching staff, but Ted gives her a shot anyway. Lizzie stopping the twins' fight is the standout moment of the tryout sequence. Competence and authority showing up in a completely unscripted way, which tends to be more convincing on screen than any drill or scrimmage could be. The kits still haven't arrived by match day. KEELEY chases it down personally, gets vague reassurances, and receives a small package that turns out to be the wrong delivery entirely. Roy's attempt to comfort her somehow makes things worse. His actual solution arrives in the form of Phoebe and her friends, who hand-decorate spare kits. Not professional grade, but enough to get the team onto the pitch with something to wear. This whole sequence works because of its scale. It's a small, practical crisis solved with a small, practical, and slightly absurd fix, rather than something overblown. Phoebe's Sparkle Brigade is a nice payoff for a very minor setup. Ted sends Alice to recruit Gemma first, treating her as priority number one over the tryouts. What Alice doesn't mention going in is that there's real bad blood between them. Sure enough, when she tracks Gemma down at a local match, Gemma won't even acknowledge her. Alice returns empty-handed, though Ted, ever the optimist, points out that not yet isn't the same as no. Alice withholding her history with Gemma before sending herself in to fix it is a quietly self-sabotaging move, almost like sending the wrong detective to solve a case they're personally implicated in. It doesn't feel malicious, more like someone avoiding a conversation she knows is coming. Ted joins Alice on the second attempt, finding Gemma studying for law school. It becomes clear she still loves the game, she just left because of how hard Alice was on her. Alice's defense is that she was tough on everyone. Gemma was simply the one who couldn't take it. That answer doesn't land well, and they leave without her again. Alice's "I was hard on everyone" line is doing a lot of quiet work here. It's not really a defense. It's an admission that she's never adjusted her approach to fit the person in front of her. Good coaching, like good teaching, usually requires reading the room. This suggests Alice hasn't fully learned that yet, even if her intentions are sound. Gemma watches a video of a football match and something shifts. She shows up right before Richmond's first friendly, ready to join, on her own terms, insisting she'll play football and study law simultaneously, which immediately irritates Alice, who clearly doesn't love the idea of divided commitment. This is a nice, quiet character beat. Gemma isn't returning because anyone convinced her with a speech. She talks herself back into it, on her own timeline, which makes her return feel earned rather than engineered. It's the difference between a character being persuaded and a character choosing. The friendly itself is largely a dull affair. Richmond's goalkeeper keeps the opposition off the board, but Richmond can't score either, since their one real striker starts the match on the bench. When Alice finally sends Gemma on, everything changes. Minutes later, Gemma scores the winning goal. The team celebrates. Alice, privately pleased, still stays visibly cold toward Gemma afterward. It makes the goal feel earned rather than just expected. Alice's continued coldness, even in victory, reinforces that whatever's going on with her, it's not really about performance. It's something more personal she hasn't worked through yet. Rebecca misses dinner with Matias twice in a row. Once by falling asleep, once through the PINTER meeting, and cancels a planned lunch too, thanks to KEELEY'S kit meltdown. When she finally shows up after the match, Matias is thrilled just to prove to the restaurant staff that his girlfriend actually exists. It turns out the staff had become so convinced he was making her up that when Rebecca finally arrives, they assume she's a sex worker he's hired to save face. Here is what I think about Episode 3. Episode 3 juggles a lot: striker crisis, sponsor drama, kit disaster, tryouts, and a genuinely funny romantic subplot, and mostly keeps its footing. Gemma's slow, self-motivated return to the game and the Rebecca-Matias restaurant payoff are the clear highlights. Alice's continued coldness toward Gemma is the one thread that still needs real resolution, but there's enough here to suggest the show knows exactly where it's going with her. Drop a like if that restaurant staff twist got you as much as it got me. Subscribe for every Ted Lasso Season 4 breakdown. I'll see you for Episode 4.